podcast for heroes in the world of Overwatch. This is The Payload.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 30 of The Payload. Should we just start that over? We're not going to. From Denver, Colorado, I am John Horstman. With me, of course, is the crew. First from Ventura, California, Jimmy Bloxham. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, good to be on the show, and this will be the last week that I have not played Overwatch, thankfully, so internet comes in tomorrow.
That's good, because you sound okay this week. You sound okay, but we don't get to see your beautiful face, and that's hard to do, It's hard to not have that smiling Jimmy back at you. Is that an innuendo for something? Don't say smiling Jimmy.
So?
Don't say smiling Jimmy. Well, it's good to have you here.
Not to.
It's good to see you again. I feel like we took a week off from Well Met this week, so I feel totally ill prepared. But don't worry. That's because Kevin Hovdestad is here. Hey, Kev.
Hey, don't look at me for preparedness, man. That week off, I said before we started tonight, it was weird not to talk to you for more than 3 whole days. It's kind of an odd experience. I talked to you more than I talked to my mom. It's crazy.
I talked to your mom more than I talked to you.
I know.
Just kidding. Well, hey, it's good to see all of you. Hey, chat. Good to see chat as well. And we've got an incredible show for you, actually. It's going to be a really good show this week. But before we do, well, Jimmy, we know you didn't do anything in Overwatch, so don't tell us. So,
unfortunately.
Kevin, how was your week in Overwatch?
I mean, it's been pros and cons, right? I think everybody has had their chance to say their piece on competitive. I finished my placement matches. The ones that I played by myself went slightly better. But on PC, I am by no means an expert at this game. I am definitely in the lower half, we'll leave it at that, of people on competitive right now on PC, and I haven't made it to 25 on Xbox yet. Leveling has just been super slow. I don't play with anybody because no one on my friends list is ever on. If you guys
I'm
out there
all
listen
the
to the
time.
show, if you play on Xbox, add me because I need people on Xbox. It's bad.
I'm playing all the time, man. I actually got up to 37 on Xbox this week with pretty limited time. I'm up to 32 on PC. I haven't touched placement matches yet
On PC.
On PC. Ever since that experience, it's done. My brother and I did the placement matches on Xbox. We went 8-2. We both hit 57 for a ranking.
Wow, that feels
Pretty good.
That is.
I think it's okay.
I was reading somewhere that, and I don't know, Xbox may be different because the deviation may not be quite as broad just because there's less players. But I was reading somewhere that people who finished in the low 60s, that was already actually in terms of placements so far, that was 80th percentile. That made you a top 1 in 5 player.
Yeah. It was really fun. We had a lot of fun playing, but catch this. So we do great in our placement matches. I'm really enjoying playing Overwatch. And then we start playing actual competitive play. I've played 12 or 13 games in competitive play. We have won 1. And besides that, if you take that 1 win out, we have captured as a team 3 total objectives. Haven't won a single round. What?
Ouch. That's
what?
rough, man.
So...
Okay, so I mean, I don't want to belabor this because I know that no one wants to hear it, no one wants to talk about it. But I played a couple of competitive games on PC this week just to see, on the other side of placements, if it would be maybe a little more balanced. And the people I played with, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have reported people in other Blizzard games for all manners of things, right? Racial slurs and homophobia and just general poor behavior. My whole team in my first game of competitive mode after I finished my placements, there's one guy who got on voice and immediately said things I will not repeat ever, let alone on the show, about the
Thank
fact
you.
that the rest of the team wouldn't use their mics, and then proceeded to intentionally like just jump off ledges over and over because he didn't want to play with the team if they wouldn't use their microphones. And then there was another kid who, because he was doing that, decided, well, it's a loss anyways, but wouldn't leave. So he just kind of ran head on into the other team over and over. It was the most unbelievably unenjoyable experience. And I don't really find that I have that problem in most of the other Blizzard games anymore. So I'm wondering if maybe it's just there hasn't been enough time to filter those people out yet, or that maybe Blizzard is scared to be aggressive with their bans because this is a game that people paid for. It's not like a free-to-play game where they don't feel as bad about saying, no, if you're going to behave that way, you're done because you can just go start a new account. Like, I don't know, but this is the solidly, by far, the worst experience I've ever had in a Blizzard game.
Yeah, I don't want to go that far. I rated some 40 mans back in Vanilla WoW or BC, and that was bad. But it's just, I'm like, is it that the MMR ranking thing is so far off? My brother and I placed well, and we should have like placed in the 40s, or because I mean it's him and I, 4 solo queues versus a team of 2 and 4 solo queues. How much worse do we have to be crushed like that consistently?
And who knows? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people who don't understand the correct counters to characters. I'm seeing a lot of people who are still, even in competitive, refuse to play a variety of characters or a variety of roles. They snap lock Reaper as soon as they're in. That's who they play, and that's what they're willing to do. And it's frustrating because as someone who does want to play the game competitively-ish, like I'm not going to be good, but I would like to at least try, I'm forcing myself to play all the characters and learn all the roles and get a grip of all the counters. And I feel like there's a lot of people who just, that's not the game they want to play. So they're going to play the game they think Overwatch should be within the Overwatch that actually is. And that sucks. It sucks hard.
Yeah, it was, man, I don't know. I'm just going to call it to like just balancing launch type stuff. But if I have to wait until season 2 to start winning in competitive mode, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry a lot.
Rightfully so. I mean, it's whatever. I look at it as, honestly, and I mean this with all the love and respect in the world, this part of the game is still in beta. This part of the game never left beta. It wasn't ready when the game launched, which meant it wasn't fully tested, and they're just smoothing out the bugs now. And okay, I accept that. I think the game was in a great place when it launched, and this is it is a core feature, but in some ways it's a core feature that needs iteration anyway. So having a first season where they're going to mess around and do some work on it, that's fine. I can live with that.
Well, yeah, and we even know, we're going to talk about it in just a second, but we know that a lot of changes are going to be coming for season 2 already. We're going to talk about if it's soon enough. We'll get there. You know what? Let's just jump into it. Let's talk about news.
This week in Overwatch.
Oh man, I don't even know where to
Captain
start.
Segue over here.
I
love
know.
that.
Just like, you know what? Just push the button.
Do it.
Just push the
Go.
button, John. Dang. So, all right, we're going to skip number 1. We're going to skip number 2. All right, here we go. Let's start talking about the coin flip. So people have really been vocal about the coin flip. In my opinion, it was not an awesome solution to what they've done. I really like the old way of sudden death a lot better. But now, right now, if you're playing, for those who aren't familiar with the coin flip, if you are playing on Payload, anything with any map with a payload or an offense defense, and you tie, there's a coin flip, and the one team ends up getting offense, and one team ends up getting defense. It's just a coin flip. Here you go. There's no bearing on anything. It used to be sudden death was a control map. You would do 1 point on a control map, and whoever won that round won. people didn't like that because, well, we just played an escort map, and now you're telling us to break a tie on a control map. That doesn't feel great. So they went with this coin flip thing, which, even though Jeff Kaplan has gone ahead and said our internal numbers show that this is much more balanced than the other way, and that we've got some good stats to back it up, the tougher thing is the perception that it doesn't feel good to coin flip, and then it feels like if you lose, it's because you basically lost the coin flip and didn't get the side that you want. So the coin flip is going away in season 2, and Kevin, I guess sudden death completely is going away in season 2, right?
That's our understanding. That's our expectation at this point. I mean, we should know more in the next couple of days here, because I expect there's going to be some formal announcements coming very soon about the particulars. I don't know what we can and can't say at this point, but the coin flip for sure going away. That's already a done deal. And I mean, it's tough, right? Because you listen to Kaplan talk and you think, okay, it's definitely not something that was actually significant in the grand scheme of how the game was being played. It didn't affect a huge number of players. It wasn't a significant problem. But you're right. I mean, the emotional response to the coin flip was pretty negative. And even if it felt fairly balanced statistically, it wasn't a fun thing to be involved in. You never wanted to get to the place where that happened in the first place, because it just meant that the game was being decided by a variable that feels like it's outside your control. Maybe you play a better defense than offense, and you personally lost on a bunch of coin flips. That could very well work itself out in the wash statistically, but that's not really what the I don't think the thrust of the complaint was about, right? So I'm glad that coin flip is going away. I think that's a healthy solution. You're right, John. The old one was better in terms of sudden death, but I think it's probably for the best for the game as a whole that this goes away. Jimmy, what do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much am in agreement. I mean, just say Team A wins on the payload like really convincingly. Team B then plays the round and does win, but it takes them the full duration. They go into a couple overtimes. Team B wins the coin flip and ends up winning again. That feels really bad as Team A. Like, you're just like, well, we just like crushed them, but we still lost the match. Okay. So, but yeah, it does feel a little weird having the sudden death be on the control point map, but that feels, I feel like, a little bit better and a little bit more balanced than what is currently in there. But the coin flip going away is I think very healthy for competitive going forward.
Yeah, I think so. The way that supposedly it's going to work if they remove sudden death completely, which they're talking about doing, only for payload maps, it would be it would essentially result in a draw, which can also be kind of weird, where now there's not a winner or a loser. And the only way to get a draw is if nobody moves the payload, or if both teams escorted all the way, correct? I think those are the only two ways that you can get a draw on a payload map if you go under the new system.
In theory, though, wouldn't it going all the way? I don't know, because we haven't actually seen the particulars yet, but wouldn't it be whichever team did that faster?
So that's like for the main rounds, no. We know that time isn't that, but potentially what they do is whatever time you have left, you have that opportunity to push the payload as far as you can, right?
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So it's a little bit different than stopwatch. It lets you be more aggressive, and if one team has 3 minutes and one team has 1:30, it's not boom done. It's, you have 3 minutes to push the payload as far as you can. The other team has 1.5 minutes, because that's how much time they had left over. So that also takes care of Jimmy's point of, we crushed it, we got it all the way. The other team barely eked through in overtime. yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. And then we had a new patch drop too, just recently, where they actually lowered the time for sudden death because it was getting abused way hard in competitive mode as well as in actual competition. There's a link. I forget who it was. I have to look it right back up. I've got it like
you're thinking
right
of the
here.
Envious thing where they ran 5 divas and just kept jumping back on point B on Hanamura over and over. If you haven't seen that, we'll link it in the show notes. It's freaking hilarious. They just diva after diva after diva on loop because somebody, I don't remember who they said, but somebody did it to them in scrims, and they basically discovered that they could just sustain that basically indefinitely until they could use the diva ults, and they had one guy on Soldier 76 saving up for a 76 ult as well, and they eventually just forced them off in overtime.
They forced it off, or didn't it time out in overtime? So it was the overtime timer was just like boom, done. And
no, I think they legitimately forced them off. They had to avoid a diva ult or something, and eventually it was like they just couldn't stay in, and they got forced off for long enough to end it.
Either way,
silly.
Overtime has been
nuts.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch how overtime has been kind of exposed and manipulated, which to the next point, hero stacking has become a real issue because of, I would call it manipulative mechanics. There's nothing bad or unfair about them. Like, they're totally within the rules.
Using the tools given to you.
Yep. But
Thank you for that very Blizzard TM answer, Jimmy.
So there's been a lot of that. You also see it quite a bit with tracers on control maps. Run like 4 tracers and 2 Lucios, or 4 tracers, a Lucio, and a soldier. And you can just do that to get back. There's been a lot of really interesting, especially in high-end competitive play. There's been a lot of interesting uses for the no hero limit. And Kevin, I'm really interested to what you kind of think about the no hero limit as it stands right now. ESL has been playing with the no hero limit all week, and they're $100,000 qualifier. There's been no heroes or no hero limits. It's been a lot of fun to watch, but you can definitely tell where there's some things that are broken. But what do you think about the no hero limit? We've had some time with competitive Overwatch. We haven't really talked about it for a while. Think it's going to stay? Think it's going to go?
I mean, in the game, it's going to stay. It's a core feature of the game, and I think for the level that we play at, it has no bearing whatsoever on the outcome. If you as a player right now listening to this are not a signed paid pro on a pro Overwatch team, the double use of a particular hero in a game is not of consequence. I'm sorry. It's just not. It might feel like it. It might be super annoying to run into that, group of people who want to run 4 bastions on defense or something, but no, doesn't matter. Not a factor. In competitive play, I think it's going to be something that has to be addressed for a whole host of reasons that we have sort of chatted about before, whether it's the viewing experience, the ability to cast efficiently, the ability for the players themselves to keep track of who they're targeting or calling out ults. It's just an inevitability that there's going to have to be some kind of limit. And I think that will actually make for not necessarily a better game, but a more wholesome spectating experience, right? I, as a viewer, will get more out of watching a game that has a 1 hero limit than I will out of the limitless revolving door of 5 divas. But having said that, the play experience, especially in non-competitive, benefits tremendously from the ability for me to say, like, yeah, we're going to run, double Lucios because it's super easy to stack up that extra speed aura and have, the quick boosts to get back into the action or whatever. There's enough reasons for it to be a part of the game and a core feature that I think it makes sense. Plus, invariably, if you ever introduced 1 or 2 hero limit or something into, say, competitive mode, you would get the people who it's a race to who got to the loading screen first to lock that character, which is going to feel awful for everyone involved. That's just not an experience you want to have as a casual player, because that will be awful. Like, there's no way around the fact that would actually get abused horribly.
Something that pro teams are calling for is a 2-1-1-1-1 limit. Basically, you can have one duplicate of a hero and the rest have to be individual, mainly because there are some really good hero stacking, like double Zarya on control maps is like really strong, especially if the other team's running a double Winston. And so there's a lot of really interesting mechanics. I think pro players kind of like being able, I think they side with Blizzard in the sense that hero stacking can be really fun and really strategic to get past certain points in the game, but being able to run 5-6 divas back to a spawn point is just kind of broken. I really like the 2-1-1-1-1 2-1-1-1-1. Yeah, that sounds about 6. I really like that format that a lot of teams are calling for. What do you think about that one, Jimmy?
No, it sounds really like a potentially good idea, and Overwatch is obviously young enough that we can really play around with these formats. I mean, I think early on we were talking about just how much the formats were going to be played with because we weren't sure what exactly was going to work. And at first I was like, oh, one hero limit's kind of doesn't feel that great, but in high level competitive play, it does feel really good. But I do like the idea of kind of having just one hero stack there, just so you can kind of take advantage of one hero's toolkit. In one team might value Lucio as their stack there, or another team, like you were saying, on the control points might value Zarya for that. So it would be really interesting, and I think a bit more strategic than just the single hero limit. And I'd really like to see some tournaments kind of play around with this. I mean, I think we're going to talk about this more in the meta report, but kind of what what ESL has done with having this no hero limit in their tournament, it's kind of forced the other tournaments to adopt that, at least for now. Because I think the pros are going to want to focus, obviously, on one format at a time. Just so they're not having to jump around between different formats and expanding their scrim schedules even larger than they already are.
Sure. Yeah, this ESL thing has been pretty interesting to watch this last week. I hope they find a way to make like a no hero limit or kind of a soft hero limit really work, because I do think it's cool, and I do think that there's a lot of great gameplay that comes from a no hero limit or a soft hero limit, but it's being abused, then it's not fun to watch, and competitive players complain about it, they stop playing, they move on, and then you've got a dead scene, which you don't want either. So sounds like Blizzard's being really proactive about this, though. They're definitely listening to the feedback going on quite a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something maybe soon. I would love to hear something about, whatever the official format is going to be. We've got to be hearing something about BlizzCon soon. You think, Kev?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, timing-wise, we talked about this a long time ago, actually. It was one of the earliest things I remember talking about on the show. But the timing works out very comparably to how they handled Heroes of the Storm last year. Heroes of the Storm launched in early June, which is pretty much the exact same time frame as the late May official launch for Overwatch. I think we're going to see them probably try to put together some kind of late summer, early fall tournament qualifier series across the different regions, find some top teams, bring them together. It's going to be kind of a quick, dirty thing to get it all together between now and BlizzCon. They've only got 4 months, but there's absolutely no way that we get to BlizzCon and there isn't competitive Overwatch being played on stage.
Awesome. Can't wait. I'll be there. You'll be there. Jimmy, you'll be here. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have to be there. That's where I'm going to be. I'm going to have to find a way to split time between Overwatch and Hearthstone. Tough choices, man. Tough choices. Let's switch gears really quick and talk about this cool little Easter egg that actually just was patched in not too long ago in the last week. So on Lijiang Tower, there is actually the name, it's Hong Yu, is added to one of the spacesuit on the red side of the map. And near it is behind it, it says "Heroes Never Die." So a young Chinese Overwatch player, Hong Yu Wu, they put it here, sacrificed his life when he bravely chased after a motorbike thief on the 23rd of May 2016, one day before Overwatch launched. And he was a huge Overwatch fan. There's some post on Reddit and on the internet about like some of his last text messages, all about how excited he was to get to play, and he had his friends in on it. So it's pretty cool to see Blizzard put this into the game, recognize its fans. I love it when Blizzard does stuff like this.
Yeah, they have a long and storied history of doing this. Characters in WoW, particularly named after, whether it's Blizzard devs, community members, people who have passed away, various different people's family members, all sorts of very, very, nice references in WoW. I know a few that were done for friends that I knew, or people who passed away or other things, and it's a really nice touch. They do a really great job of kind of honoring the memory of people that way, or people that they want to show thanks or respect to as well. So there's definitely precedent for this in other games. It's trickier, I think, in some of these other games. Like, it's tough to do in a Heroes of the Storm or a Hearthstone, where they kind of have to make sure that everything sort of has a contextual reason to be there. But in WoW, they can kind of do whatever they want with a huge range of NPCs and items and things. And in Overwatch, there's lots of these places where they can hide kind of little Easter eggs like this that are just simple touches, but very meaningful to people. And I'm hoping that we see more of this kind of stuff as the additional maps come out and stuff like that down the road.
I'm typing to Jimmy to be quiet. Sorry, audio listeners.
I know. I'm so sorry, guys. But yeah, it's just a really nice thing that Blizzard's doing. I mean, it's really cool to see them do this, and it's not surprising as well. I mean, I remember for a while they did the whole Make-A-Wish Foundation thing, and that was really cool. But yeah, unfortunately, these tributes are usually attached to very sad stories. But it's nice to see them honor these fans of the game, and like Kevin was saying, developers as well, through these little tributes in game.
Totally. Okay, so one more piece of news here, and then let's talk about some fun stuff. So, no subtitles in Overwatch makes it really hard for people who can't hear to see what's going on around them and what's being said. So, what the heck, Blizz? Come on, give us some subtitles. In defense, in defense of Blizzard, right? And it's not even in defense. Like, Blizzard has a really good accessibility team, and all their games except Hearthstone have pretty great accessibility features. They don't typically come right at launch. Those do take a long time to develop, and they do take a long time to perfect, but it's definitely something that I think sets companies apart when they invest heavily in accessibility. I would love to see Blizzard do the same for Overwatch. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, most totally. I mean, it feels like, though, to be a little bit critical, I guess, as far as this getting into the game, it's almost like how the web development industry is kind of accessibility is kind of very low on the priority list. I'm sure I'm not saying it's not a priority for Blizzard. Obviously it is. It's just there's so many other things that get in the way of implementing something like this, and they only have so many people to implement this, so it eventually kind of drops off a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad they're going to be doing. Are they going to be doing this? I'm sure they are, but I mean, it's good that people are calling them out on it.
Yeah, we haven't heard either way. pun intended, I guess. But hopefully, oh, you should see the faces.
Tasteless pun.
Thank you.
Tasteless pun.
Anyway, I think it's something that does matter to them, but it's definitely something that I think the development cycles to get that kind of stuff into the games are like they're strapped, right? They're strapped to get core features into the game. We're waiting on major updates to competitive and additional content and stuff, all of which is clearly in the pipe. There's a lot of work going on. Accessibility is something that I think Blizzard, to their credit, has actually done a really good job at in all of their games over the course of the last 5 or so years. They've really made an active push towards, better color blindness options. They did a phenomenal job of the rework on color blindness in WoW. They've usually made their games very accessible to people who have any sort of limitations with interfacing with a game in any way, whether that's, audio, visual, physical inputs, whatever. I'm not going to be shocked if they go ahead with this, but I'm also not, I guess, shocked that it wasn't in at launch either. I don't know that they've ever really had a game launch with a full suite of accessibility options, but they do tend to come back around and say, yeah, okay, that's something we probably should have spent more time on earlier. So hopefully this is something that they make a priority out of, and they can implement it in such a way that it's useful to players who are hearing impaired without also being extraordinarily beneficial to people who can use the audio cues and are trying to, get around using audio cues by using the subtitling instead.
Sure. I agree.
Hopefully, maybe.
I agree. Let's do a hard switch here. We're going to do a hard switch. You guys want to talk about some new heroes in Overwatch? Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's play a thing.
Faster than sight. So predictable.
So we've got some exciting news to finally talk about on this show. Courtesy of the Overwatch Twitter, the official Twitter, a image was leaked that's confidential. I'm doing air quotes here on the game's official Twitter account. So really good job. You guys don't get into politics. And we've got potentially what's supposed to be a lead-in and a leak to the next big hero the next hero in Overwatch. And this is accompanied by, just a few hours ago, the San Diego Comic-Con schedule posted. And there is a behind the scenes on Overwatch's new hero on July 21st. So we should be getting a new hero as late, at the latest, July 21st. At least announcement, a new hero announcement, not necessarily in the game. And this is exciting. So for our audio listeners on the screen, the image is to a Jay Morrison and Gabriel Reyes, G Reyes. We pretty much know that that's Soldier 76 and Reaper, saying with the subject prototype biotic rifle, with comments from Torbjorn and Mercy. Kevin, take it away. Let's get a start. Break it down for us first a little bit. What your interpretation of this is, and then let's talk about who we think we're teasing here.
All right, so what we know so far is Blizzard has dropped a whole bunch of hints that they are obviously intending to add new maps and heroes to the game. Those are not going to be something they're going to charge for. It's just going to be a content addition to the game when they're available. I expect that what they're teasing here is the first sort of major patch that is going to come to the game, likely in the not so distant future. This is probably going to come on or before the period that we swap into Season 2 for competitive play. So this is something you're going to see over the course of the summer. And they're teasing a biotic field rifle. So it looks like a sniper rifle that uses some of the same technology as the Caduceus staff that Mercy uses, modified by Torbjorn. And there's little references that they've dropped all over the place. If you stitch all the pieces together, you can actually pretty much look this stuff up online all over the place now. The presumption at this point is that this is going to be the character Sombra that people have been talking about, that's been kind of teased all over the place, and that Sombra is actually the code name for Anna Amari, who is Farah's mother. She was stationed alongside Soldier 76, fought with Blackwatch and all the rest of that, and then vanished. And that all took place apparently when Farah was about 7. So there's a big gap in the middle there where nobody knows where she was or what happened. But ostensibly, that's what is going to be this character, this weapon. She's going to play a long-range support / damage-dealing character. Probably a bit of a blend that does less healing than a Mercio or a Lucy. Well, a Mercio or a Lucy?
Lucy.
Wow. Yeah, a Mercy or Lucio. But probably more direct healing and contributions than you would have gotten from a Zenyatta or a Symmetra, is my guess. That's my theory. I don't know. I'm really glad, I guess, in a way, that they're adding another support character and that they're prioritizing that, because the supports feel a little thin. That's definitely the part of the gameplay that to me feels like it needs the most variety right now. But is this what you guys were expecting, or what you thought the design direction was going to be? A healing sniper?
Yes.
I think, I think that's kind of been the thought ever since the GameSpot video, and everyone thinks that they saw Sombra there, and everyone thinks that it's going to be another sniper, but a support sniper in some way. So that would be interesting, and obviously this tweet and image kind of confirms that theory. And I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse here, but I really think it is Sombra, and I go back to our episode right before launch of Overwatch to hear us talk about that ad nauseum. I feel like.
So, okay, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. So I do think that it's Farah's mom, Anna Amari, right? Anna Amari. I do think that it is that. I don't think the character name is Sombra. I don't think that's going to be your character name. She's Egyptian. Sombra is Spanish for shadow. Now, to Kevin's point, she disappeared. She could have disappeared
Like
anywhere.
a shadow?
Like a shadow, yep. And she might have disappeared to Dorado, where a lot of like the classified files are, people are talking about quite a bit. But then the thing I don't like about that is that the character Leek, the kind of hooded, almost Destiny looking character with the scarf, is almost, in my opinion, is completely different than Anna Amari has ever been. And Blizzard has always kind of stayed true. Even Reyes, before he came Reaper, was like this dark, kind of creepy dude. Same thing with Soldier 76. They all kind of stayed with a similar aesthetic. This feels like a really far jump. I don't think that this is Sombra per se, but I could totally be wrong. She could have disappeared, gone to Dorado, did her thing with Los Muertos, maybe. Maybe she's involved with Los Muertos in Dorado and came up with the name of herself, Sombra, cloaked herself so that no one would recognize her. And maybe that's what they did. I don't know. I don't think that Blizzard needs to be that clever to put that character into the game. Yeah? Maybe.
Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully soon. Well,
okay, so
by the 21st.
just for clarity, because we didn't actually say it, the initial tweet from the Play Overwatch account doesn't include this detail, but the Brazilian account tweeted the same image with the addition of the AMRE information. So that is canonical, for lack of a better word. That is confirmed. We know that that's the context, is that that's a character who is included on the message that went out that included this information within the context of the Overwatch lore. So I think that part we can safely say is done. To John's point, the Sombra thing I think is pretty likely, because we haven't seen a lot of teasing or hints dropped around any other characters yet. So it would seem odd to me that they would be trying to tease two in tandem parallel like that. with not having intent at this point, I don't think, to release multiple heroes all at once, because that's not their style. Like, I don't see them being like, here's 5 new heroes and then walking away from the game for a year.
jeez.
So
But there's lots of teases in the game right now about other heroes. Like there are a lot of other teases in the shorts as well. Not as much as Sombra, I would agree, but I think you can tease something, whatever, have in-game lore about something that ends up you can have things in the game lore. Jimmy, I'm gonna knock you upside the head here. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. There are heroes in the game. I have to do this. There are heroes in the game where they can tease a hero and come out with a whole new hero and keep maybe Sombra they want a big lead up to because she's going to be really cool and different. I don't know. I just don't think. I think Anna Amari going to Mexico and coming up with a new name and changing the way she looks after the team has already designed the way she used to look. I think that that would be a lot more far-fetched than teasing 2 heroes in tandem, I guess, if that's the way I'm going to say it.
okay, I believe you.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll make sure to edit out that pause.
Well, I don't know that there's a good way to argue that one either way. Blizzard has a whole range of character ideas. I mean, I think you can look at something as simple as the fact that Soldier 76 was a 20-something-year-old sketch that Chris Metzen did back in the late 90s that got brought forward and turned into an Overwatch character. Like, yes, they have a whole stable of ideas, and they probably used some of those, like, pieces of potential character art that somebody worked on in a bunch of the different spots, and there's lots of teases in theory, but the reality is I think there's a difference between this is something that could eventually be a character, or this was an idea someone had that got added to a flip book in one of the spots, versus we very specifically are sending out tweets and put references in game to this particular character. Like, I think there's a difference of scale, is what I'm suggesting. So I think I'm with Jimmy on this one. I think that this is going to be Anna Amari, Farah's mom, Sombra, all the same person.
All right. Good deal. Let's talk about the meta report this week then. Before we do, though, there's a new Heroes League coming in Australia. It's going to be 6 weeks. There's going to be 44 teams, and it's going to have a studio broadcast finals. That's all we know right now. I don't believe we know any of the invited teams. We don't know what the prize pool is going to be, but it's happening. So we're going to have an Overwatch League, which will be really fun. I'm really excited. How do you guys feel about an Overwatch League? Recurring teams, big pot. Kevin, we're used to it a little bit. Not so much recently, but we saw leagues in Hearthstone last year. That was really fun. What do you think about a Heroes League or a Overwatch League?
I think it's really good. I mean, if we go outside the realm of Blizzard, I have to say the E-League, for the most part, has done really good for CSGO. I mean, it's really cool to have a consistent schedule every week and that be a part of this one big, large season for this huge prize pool, and being able to follow your favorite teams or players and whatnot. I mean, this is more in line with traditional sports, but I think it's good and healthy for competitive gaming going forward, and especially Overwatch.
Yeah, I think that's the trend in esports as a whole, is towards leagues and away from one-off tournaments. It's just way more difficult for people to follow, to keep up with, to understand who's good or who's not, to invest the enormous amount of time it takes to watch 20 hours of competitive Overwatch over the span of 2 or 3 days, as opposed to a couple of matches here and there. As you've got time on like a Tuesday night, you sit down for an hour and you watch the matches that are scheduled that night. There's a reason that the majority of all sporting and entertainment events are built that way, right? There's very few things that you can do the way that you do like the Olympics or something, where you have just this, okay, I'm going to watch nothing but competitive diving for the next 4 days. Like, no, it's tough to invest that kind of time and be attached to a screen for that length of time. It always has been. As somebody who tried to follow like competitive StarCraft forever, I eventually just got to a point where it was like, I can't sit at my computer all weekend, every weekend. And when you're dealing with things like Overwatch being hugely popular overseas as well, if you got started and you really wanted to pay attention, you could be watching Overwatch around the clock because the tournament ends in Europe, starts in North America. Tournament ends in North America. That's the beginning of the tournament in Korea. Tournament ends in Korea and it's the next day and you start over again in Europe, right? Like it would never end. So I think this is a good sort of like healthy thing for the game and esports in general to just sort of shift towards this. We're going to spread things out over a longer period of time and treat them as leagues where teams have sort of fixed, stable rosters. Things are predictable from week to week. I love it. I love it.
Perfect. Hey, we can agree on something today. That feels nice.
Yay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Hero Report, Hero Meta Report number 17. By the way, if you didn't catch episode 29 last week with Icarus, you should. But you should also go to youtube.com/IcarusGamers and twitter.com/IcarusGamers and give that guy a follow. Big thanks for him, to him for being on this show. And yeah, he put out another great piece of information here. So with Planet Overwatch and Captain Planet, we've got episode or Meta Report 17. And we were talking a little bit about ESL earlier, and we've got some stats. So check this out. This is pretty insane. Tracer and Lucio, well over 100%. I forget the actual percent. I'm trying to look it up here. But it was something insane. It was like almost 200 some. The graph is off the charts is the important piece. Graph is off the charts for charts, not charts. Sorry. For Lucio and Mercy, you've got a lot of teams running that, and Reaper making a comeback. And Icarus talked a bit about that last week, and I thought it was really interesting. Man, this is so weird to me when you look at this and see all the different 130%. Sorry, that's what it was. 130%. This is so interesting to me. I want no hero limit to work so bad. But when you look at numbers like this, unless they make some major changes to how the heroes play or are balanced, can we get away from not having a hero limit, Kev?
I mean, yes and no, right? Some of this is because the game specifically emphasizes the value of certain things right now, right? Capture points are a fixed radius, so you have to get within that radius and continue to reset timers and stuff, which massively, massively overvalues characters like Tracer, Winston, characters like Zarya that can go immune, right? You're seeing that style of play become very popular, and it's a kind of a necessary evil with the way the game works, right? You can't be mad at people for using what works. Similarly, Lucio, right? Lucio being as heavily played as he is, I like, he's the most represented character other than Tracer, which is a very specific thing from this most recent tournament. He's just been everywhere forever because of the speed boost. It's not even that he's a great healer, and he's a great healer. Don't get me wrong. I love the kit. I think Lucio is one of the more fun characters to play in the game, but I can't imagine his prevalence going down until there's some other way to increase speed in the game. And I don't mean individually increase your speed, right? Like Soldier 76 being able to sprint, that's great. The characters that have other limited ways to speed boost, like Tracer, that's great. But until there's another character who can give allies a faster movement speed, even if it's only in short bursts, he's just going to see this level of use. I don't think that's avoidable. Having said that, I also don't think one hero limit solves that. I think within a one hero limit composition, you're just going to see the same characters that have those things that are sort of core and powerful to the game. Going to one hero limit, you're not suddenly going to see the competitive scene go, oh, well, I guess we should be running a whole bunch of Zenyatta. Like, no one's going to suddenly decide that's an effective strategy. There's just things that are good and things that are not. And it does sort of have a cyclical rotation to it, right? When they nerfed McCree, we saw this sort of big push away from him towards Reaper, towards even Pharah, right? Got a ton of play all of a sudden. We're seeing less Widowmaker with the nerf to her body shot damage, such that you don't see mandatory Widowmaker on both sides anymore, which is nice. I mean, I don't think any of this is bad or indicative of a like poor structure or limited health for the game. If anything, I think mostly what it means is the game is going to need a bunch of new characters. Like over the course of the next year, I would be blown away if the number of characters in Overwatch doesn't increase to 30.
Mm-hmm. Something that I think is really interesting too, Lucio is up to like, what is, I have to have the exact number here, 186% usage rate on King of the Hill maps. Specifically King of the Hill maps, Lucio shines because number one, he can get back quickly, and if the team dies, he can bring the team back with him. His strong AoE heals are also a big factor, but then also on certain maps like Ilios and even Nepal, he's got the knockback too, which is actually does quite a bit of work as well. Like those are all factors that make Lucio so good. And I think that makes sense. It's kind of the same thing with Tracer. Tracer eats tanks. The only tank that she doesn't eat is up close Winston. The rest of them, she pretty much wrecks. You're right. Widowmaker, you really only run to counter a Pharah, a really bothersome Pharah at that, and the rest of the way, usually between the hit scan on Soldier 76 and even you've got the up close type of stuff with Reaper. It's just not a lot of teams are using snipers nearly as much. They're using it to break a choke point or to kind of clear a line of sight. It's more of a threat than it is an actual action that leads to winning games. It's more, oh crap, they've got a Widowmaker, change our positioning type things. So,
right. And a lot of that I think has to do with skill ceiling and skill floor, right? And in the games we play, right, at our level, you see tons of Widowmaker, tons of Torbjorn and Hanzo and Junkrat, all the characters that are getting no play in the competitive scene because they're fairly easy, but there's also kind of an upper boundary on how effective they can be, right? Whereas with a character like, Tracer or Lucio or Winston especially, I actually am really always blown away by pro-level Winston play. You're never going to see the same amount of usage of those characters in a typical game that you are in a pro game because the toolkit is so much more suited to the speed and accuracy and efficiency that a top-level player can have with them. There's no one who's doing what the pro teams are doing with Tracer in regular competitive Overwatch. They are leaning very heavily on characters that have more ease in putting out damage, more ease in setting up choke points. That's fine. I think that's a healthy thing for the game too, right? Like we can't look at this and say, oh God, this means Mei is a terrible character. I don't like Mei, don't get me wrong, but I don't think she's in a bad place or needs a major rework because the pros aren't running her in the current meta.
Yeah, it's totally different. Like she could be competitive and be played in competitive and not be played in competition and high-end Overwatch play. And that's okay. Same thing with Tracer. Doesn't matter, Kevin. If you, me, and Jimmy go ahead and decide to play some Overwatch tonight and we start running multiple Tracers, it's not going to matter because we're not going to be accurate enough with our Tracers to do enough damage and mobile enough to be able to be really good. And that's one of the big things that these pro players are good at is they're like sniping Pharahs from a really far way away. I didn't know that Tracer could shoot that far type of thing. And it's really interesting. I'm really excited to see. And actually, Kevin, you just posted this in Skype. I won't break your leak. Tell us what just went live just now.
Right. So we sort of had a hint that this might have been coming. It's definitely something that we are excited to talk about. Somebody has now posted it to Reddit and it's all over. ESL tomorrow is officially going to announce that the Blizzard sanctioned format for competitive Overwatch is 1 hero limit with stopwatch. So that's the official plan for ESL going forward starting tomorrow. And that's what Blizzard has said they want to see done. So presumably, unless something changes based on the results of the next few tournaments, that's the format you can expect going forward for the Blizzard sanctioned esports within Overwatch.
What do you think, Jimmy?
I think it's good that we're finally settling on a format for at least Blizzard sanctioned tournaments, and we'll have to see how it goes forward. Because granted, this tier list is a fairly small sample size, but it's definitely kind of concerning how there's I think it was maybe 10 heroes that are in the top 3 spots, and then everyone else is just in dumpster tier land. There's no one in the C grade spot, and so that means there's no heroes between B and D. So it's just very interesting how the distribution in the tier list for this report is, and it'll be interesting to see if we see any other tournaments try a no hero limit going forward. But I imagine with this kind of coming down from above and being like, oh, this is the official format, it's going to be that forward for the majority of tournaments.
Yeah, I think it has to be. And it just, honestly, though, it was getting kind of boring without the hero limit. We saw the same thing. 2 Winstons, 2 Lucios, 2 Tracers, or a Tracer and a Reaper, or some combo of 2 DPS. Yeah, it's time. I like it. Okay. This is the first time I will say I'm really warming up to the idea of a hero limit. It's taken me longer than I like to admit, but I'm warming up to it.
There. Same with stopwatch. It's taken me a little bit to kind of appreciate it, I guess, but I think it'll be good for competitive going forward.
And you know what? It feels bad because we talked a whole bunch about this before from the casual perspective, back when we were first sort of discussing, what people were saying about the game and how they didn't like playing against, multiple of the same characters, and they wanted this introduced as a feature to the game. And I know that I was vocal in defending, you should be able to switch anytime, you should be able to play whatever character you want. That's the way the game is designed and balanced. That's the game that I wanted to play, but it's impossible to watch. And at the bottom line, end of the day, you have to do something that makes it watchable for the esports side of things. I don't think that will trickle down to the game. I don't think Overwatch will become a game where you can only have one of a character on a team or one of a character in a game or something. I don't see that being the likely outcome of this, but I do think it's a good change, and that it was something that, even if you don't love it, or even if you were taking a while to kind of come around to it, this is one of those necessary evil, least worst type of situations where you just have to look at it and go, it may not be exactly what we wanted, but it's going to be good for Overwatch esports.
And I think they did the right thing to give it some time too. And let's see what the players figure out. And let's see what these tournament organizers figure out with these tournaments. And in the end, it's been pretty much the same since day one, that the no hero limit really kind of stifles some aspects of the game. I don't agree with you, Kevin, that it's not fun to watch, in the sense, it's not confusing for me. I get it. There's 2 Lucios, there's 2 Winstons. I'm not super passionate about which one's which. But it is, from even today, I watched about 6 hours of ESL, and it was they're on a control map, 2 Winstons, 2 Lucios. Oh, they're gonna, what's this? This is a Reaper? Oh no, he changed back. It's 2 Tracers. And it's just, if that's the way it's going to be, it kind of defeats the purpose of this dynamic no hero limit thing anyway. Instead, it's just a way to come up from the best comp from day one, or from, minute 1 and then see who gets that first. And it just turns into like, who can get the first kill first, and then who can, okay, they snowball, they capture the point. Now they switch their comp to a double Zarya type something and try to go do that. They finally get it and they switch, and it's just like these little spatterings of team fights that you're chaining up your ultimates. And like that's all it's been. And you wait for everyone to have their ultimates. And when you have two Zaryas, you can use two of her stupid, what's it called? Anyways, I will never remember it. But it's not that fun to watch.
I mean, but that argument technically extends all the way, right? Like you're going to have a best composition likely as not within one hero limit as well. It's just not going to be, I think, as complicated for people to watch. It's not going to have, it limits the cheese. It limits the technical depth required to broadcast it, to watch it, to be a caster, to be the player in the situation where you don't have to keep track of, which of those 5 divas has their ult up, which one do we need to be worried about? Like, I think it's good for what the game is going to be like at a competitive level in terms of how it will be played, but mostly how it will be watched. I don't think this means there won't be an optimal starting composition when you're pushing in a given place on a given map. I think there will always be characters that are good for certain reasons. The counters still exist. If you're getting destroyed by a Widowmaker, you're still going to get a Winston. Like, there's nothing about that relationship that changes just because of the hero limit. I think that's a necessary part of the game, but you're not going to see people saying, okay, well, we can now chain the kits together in such a way that, multiple Zaryas means someone's always immune and we can control a point that way. Like that's the stuff that had to go.
Okay. That sounds fine. We need to get out of here. It's showtime.
That was it? All right.
That's it. I think so. We got a lot to talk about. And I don't know. We don't have much more left to hit on. We don't have anything left to hit on. Otherwise, we want to hit the button. But, well, thanks for hanging out with us this week, guys. It's been a really good episode 30. Celebrating 30 episodes, boys. Can you believe it?
That's so unreal.
Woo!
I mean, when
so
you think
cool.
about like all the time that we were kind of like waiting for content when the beta was down and stuff, like we've been at this now for almost a year if you go back and do the math.
It's coming up there.
It was like late last summer, early last fall that we got started.
Okay. I don't think it was that early. Anyways.
We'll have to check the archives.
Yes. Our free Slack won't go back more than 10,000 messages, though, so I think we're screwed. iTunes reviews. So iTunes reviews this week, we have one from big_fish_OP. Thank you so much for your review. We love your 5-star reviews. If you like the show, head on over to episodes. Yeah, I know when we started it, but we threw it together, Kevin, in like a month. It worked really quick. Anyways, oh man, I love you guys. This is what we do all the time, is we make statements and then try to correct each other.
You're getting
the most
fact
fun.
checked, son.
Exactly.
It's the funniest thing. October is not almost a year. Love you. But yeah, 5-star reviews. We love them. Thanks so much. Shout outs this week, Jimmy.
Shout outs to finally getting internet tomorrow in my apartment. And
Nice.
also, as long as that goes well, I will be casting the ESL North American qualifiers for Heroes of the Storm this Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific. I am super excited to be doing that and be a part of that. So if you're interested in Heroes, make sure to check that out, as it'll be qualifiers for this fall season here. So it'll be fun to watch.
Nice. Kev, what about you, man?
Oh my god, man, there's so many crazy things going on. I don't even know where to start. I guess I do want to let people know, because it just officially, technically became public knowledge today. I just signed up to do esports coverage for Bleacher Report. So
Yay.
those sports fans in the States are probably familiar with
That
Bleacher
is
Report.
awesome.
Yeah, they hired a small crew. There's only 4 or 5 of us that are working on esports content for them. I am one of the people on that short list, and one of 2 from Canada by the looks of things. So it's not just me for a change. We got a Calgary guy as well. But so yeah, if you head over to Bleacher Report's esports section. There's not much there yet, but over the next couple of months, you'll start to see probably a bi-weekly column from me covering different Blizzard esports.
Awesome. Congrats, man. That's amazing and well-deserved.
Thank you.
As for me, getting back to streaming this week, my brother's been visiting from Minnesota, so I haven't as much streaming time as I normally like. We've been playing a lot of video games, but playing a lot of Overwatch in the mornings. So I'll be back there, twitch.tv/kicked-tripod. And yeah, that's about it. Let's go ahead and get out of here, and we'll do it this way. Find more Overwatch stuff throughout the week at overwatch.blizzpro.com. Our music's awesome, so is the guy who made it, Jake Buttineau at jakebuttineau.ca. And sitedesigns.com for our logo. We really appreciate it, buddy. Send us tweets at Payload Podcast, emails at thepayload@blizzpro.com, iTunes reviews, Stitcher, blah, 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 Google Podcasts. We're there too. Whew. This has been episode number 30. We're out of here, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
The Payload is a production of BlizzPro. Find out more about Overwatch at overwatch.blizzpro.com. You can find your host throughout the week on social media. Find Jimmy on Twitter at DJ Tyrant, Kevin on Twitter at Lack of Realism, and John on Twitter at Kicked Tripod.